Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Okay. Look, we've been talking about it all year that this Brown season was going to be one that was going to require a focus on 2 days, right? Sundays and Saturdays. And there might be a time where the focus on Saturday might become more intense than focus on Sunday. Not saying we're at that point, but we're getting close. But in order to help us talk about what is going on Saturdays in the quarterback class, I have somebody on that I feel like always has good stuff to talk about with the quarterback class. And that's CORY KINNAN of Daft on Draft. CORY, there's been some debate about this draft class, and it's been fascinating to watch it because I think what happened here was the names that everybody knew coming into the season aren't performing that highly, so everybody's just tracking those names and saying, it's a bad class. But if you're paying attention, like who's emerging in this class and how they're looking, I think you might have a different perspective of it because there's some guys who, didn't play last year that are stepping up into that spotlight. I mean, like a guy like Mendoza who did play the last 3 years, now in a place where you actually like pay attention to him playing football and on a team that's commanding your attention. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, I see what everybody's saying about it. What's your overview of this class?
Yeah, first I would like to just point out that the Monday right after the 2025 draft, I dropped an article on Fernando Mendoza calling him the massive riser of this year's draft class. So I've always been on the Mendoza train. He was my QB1 coming into the season. So I feel a little vindicated on that. But I do like the draft class, man. Again, I wasn't high on Aller or Nuss coming into the season. And those are I kind of wasn't clubbing it because I saw the athleticism. I saw the little bit of progression there. But again, I've gotten the summer grades from scouts, the NFS and Blesto grades from scouts, and I mean, scouts had day 3 grades I think coming into the season. So the media was definitely a lot higher on Klubnik than scouts were coming into the season. So maybe I should have paid a little bit more attention to those summer grades that I had access to. But I went with the tools on that one, but again, I had Nuss QB5 and Aller QB6 coming into the season. So I didn't think these guys were top quarterbacks coming into the season to begin with. But I like those first 3 guys that we want to talk about now, which is Mendoza, Dante Moore, and Ty Simpson. I think those are all going to be are playing capable of very high IQ quarterbacks that are going to start and make a lot of money. Like for all the Kirk Cousins comps we throw around for quarterbacks, right? Like, this is a Kirk Cousins breed of a quarterback. Kirk Cousins is the wealthiest current active player in the NFL right now. So there's these guys are going to make a lot of money at the NFL level. Kirk Cousins has won playoff games. He's come a week from a game from the Super Bowl before. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad comp for that breed of quarterback. And if you look at the quarterbacks that are thriving right now, or how quarterbacks are winning, it's not explosive. It's guys being able to get their eyes pre-snap, work the quick game, and then when those chunks are there, to be able to execute at a high level. And I think that all of Mendoza, Moore, and Simpson are doing that. They're all fearless middle field throwers, and they're not afraid to attack windows. And I think that's what is going to be a huge draw to these NFL coaches. So those are the 3 that I say, I feel really good about those 3 quarterbacks. So I think it's a good class. Again, I think people want to look at 2021 where 5 guys went in the first round, and 2024 when 6 guys went in the first round. Those are anomalous classes. Like if you get 2 good quarterbacks coming out of draft class, it's a good class. I have 3 that I feel good about, and 1 that I'm like, yeah. One, I feel good about the tools, but I think his eyes are still really raw and probably needs to be put in an incubator for a year if he does declare. And another one that's a riser that I'm like, yeah, I could see some team falling in love with this guy and see him going first round based on the trajectory that he's on and the tools that he plays with. So,
yeah, and you bring up the Kirk Cousins thing, and I think it's interesting when people how people react to the Kirk Cousins comps, or if somebody's like, hey, it kind of reminds me of Kirk. Kirk as a player, how he's actually able to execute a game plan is not a bad thing. The things that people don't like about Kirk Cousins is the late game decision making stuff, right? That's what you're getting. That's why he's seen as somebody you can't rise above. But we've seen quarterbacks the caliber of Kirk Cousins be able to accomplish stuff. It's just Kirk do that Kirk shit at the end
Yeah.
of games sometimes, right? But that's not necessarily what people are always saying when they're like, oh yeah, he does some of the stuff that, you can imagine somebody on that level of play being, But let's first start with I think I'm surprised he's not unanimous number one right now, but like I like Ty Simpson, but I think when I watch Mendoza, it's just way more polished. He's played more football than Simpson, right? And he has that prototypical size. He's a good athlete too, right? He can move on the run, throw on the run. Like what is it that when you watched him in summer scouting and now you're watching him in the fall that's really like jumping off the tape with him, right? Like that you would, like if you were to market him, what would you start with Mendoza?
Yeah, so going back to last spring, he was the first 2026 quarterback that I watched. And, I was on your show last year talking about quarterbacks, and I did not like last year's class. I didn't like Ward, I liked probably Sanders most of all, and it was probably a miss for me at this point, but he's never played a down of NFL football, so we don't really know. And I didn't like Dart, didn't like Shuck, didn't like those guys, like none of them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it comes down to like ability to make smart decisions in structure, as opposed to like, oh, I'm just gonna play outside of structure, run around, and see if a guy comes open and make a fun throw. Like that stuff doesn't work at the NFL level. We're kind of seeing that learning curve with Cam Ward right now, and so Mendoza was the first quarterback that I watched, and then I like the 2 games in, I was like, this guy gets it. Like, oh, from a cognitive level, this guy gets it. Just being able like to see his own responsibility and protection. Like, oh, there's a loaded box. I need to know where my hot is at. The ball has to come out quick. He's got that stuff down. Down and distance stuff. Like he's throwing some really like awesome backside glances under pressure on like 3rd and 17 in the Pitt game last year for Cal. In the Stanford game, like he drills a post with a man in his face, layers it right over the defender for a game-winning touchdown. NC State game, marches them all the way right down the field into a game-winning situation, and they missed the game-winning, like a 35-yard game-winning field goal. In that game, he had them up in Miami for most of that game as well. Like, and so, but it's the cognitive thing for Mendoza that really sold me. Again, the arm is good. I'd say it's like B+ to A- arm, right? The athleticism probably slightly above average to above average. I think his linear speed is good, like once he gets going, but like the wiggle in the pocket and stuff like that's a little stiff. But and so I think that the tools are fine. The arm is again B+ to A-, but it's the decision making and it's the wits that I see. Again, coming out of high school, this guy had 2 offers to play. Well, 1 offer to play football and it's to Yale, and then Cal came along late. So again, his 2 offers to play Division I football out of high school were Yale and UC Berkeley. Like you can't be a dumbass and get into those schools. So like that's another thing that stands out to me about Mendoza, and it shows up now looking at the Indiana tape. He's thrown like really 1 bad interception all season. Like his interception last week was a ball that was batted down to the line of scrimmage and it fell into the lap of a defensive line. So I see it, man. He gets it. He's a smart kid. He's smart with the football, and he's got the arm to make any throw, and he's got the arm arrogance to say like I'm gonna rip this. So and I think arm arrogance is a huge trait in quarterback, especially in response to pressure. And that's what I would say LaNorris Sellers really lacks. Is like Sellers has this tool, but that dude will not rip it. He's hitching everything. He doesn't trust it. Like so, like that's the big difference that I see there, and why I love Mendoza. And have for months.
Yeah, he. I think also some of the stuff that I just like because I'm not gonna sit here and act like I watched a ton of like ACC football last year, right? Like I didn't watch a ton of Cal, playing like SMU in technically an ACC game here. I was looking forward to seeing him play in like some big moments, right? Some big college football moments. And you're going to see it because they're like the number 2 team in the country right now. If they went out, they're going to have a huge game versus Ohio State for the Big Ten championship. And the loser of that game is still going to be in the playoffs. So we're going to get to see him in those kind of moments. But I think the one time we've gotten to see him in that kind of an environment, right? Oregon on the road, he throws the shitty interception that you're talking about, right? The back foot across his body, knew he shouldn't have done it. I thought what was impressive for him was like, okay, how do you respond to that, right? Because some of that stuff you can't really tell on somebody's stat sheet. It's like, oh, when they throw an interception, it goes downhill for the rest of the game. He's not confident anymore. He's like, no, straight process, confident, everything, doing it through a really nice fade ball to end the drive touchdown. And you're like, okay, he handled that responsibility on the road. They tied the game up with the interception. Like you could have really messed things up. Biggest game of like I don't know when the last time Indiana had a chance to do something like that on the road, right? Biggest game of his career, certainly. You make a mistake like that, it can be real easy to start tightening up. And he didn't tighten up, right? He just did what he was supposed to. I thought that was really impressive, right? Same thing happened with Ty Simpson last week, where he played pretty shitty for like 3 quarters, but did what he needed to at the end of that game to be able to win it. We're going to continue this excellent conversation I'm having with CORY, KINNAN, talking about the 2026 class and why we like it a lot. But before we continue, got to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. So let's kind of move on to Ty Simpson, who's, he's been a name that you've been aware of because he plays at Alabama. He's been a backup for Milroe for a little while here. Another guy who has stepped in, improved this team. What do you see from Ty that's been really impressive from him?
Yeah, again, fearless middle of field thrower, dude. You give him any window over the middle, he's ripping digs, he's ripping posts, he's getting his eyes backside efficiently, he's hitting the back foot of his drop when that ball's coming out. So the timing stuff is really good. I think you're even seeing him do some stuff with his legs. It's like, oh, this guy can move a little bit too. Like he's not a Cousins golf kind of quarterback, because I do think there is some plus athleticism to Ty Simpson. So that's what I really like about Ty Simpson. The accuracy has been a little up and down the past couple weeks, so I'm keeping an eye on that. But he's undressing a lot pre-snap as well, so you'll see him send dudes in motion, see how the defense responds to that. You'll see him check protections based on how the box looks, and then you'll see him even check at the line of scrimmage as well. He's like one of the few quarterbacks in this class that has that responsibility at the line of scrimmage to have that full control of what's going on, that full scope of control. And so that's what I do like about Ty Simpson quite a bit there. Again, the accuracy I'm kind of keeping an eye on, because he is coming off the worst game of the season, and I thought even the week before that the ball placement was a little bit out of touch. So keeping an eye on that for sure. And that's kind of why for me I have him sitting at QB3 right now. But definitely a quarterback I still feel pretty darn confident in.
Yeah, and he's had a hell of a stretch of games here too, right? I think the last 4 or 5 weeks, last month of the season for him. It looked like Alabama was out of it after that Florida State game, right? And now they're right back in the thick of things. Let's talk about Dante Moore, quarterback out of Oregon. He was on the opposite end of what Mendoza was able to do in that game, right? Mendoza makes the mistake. He ends the game, I think, with 2 interceptions at the end of that game.
Yeah.
And
one was bad,
like
straight
a tip ball.
Yeah.
So, and then I think he had another tip ball interception against Rutgers, but he threw like 4 touchdowns in that game too. So, how has he bounced back from, not being able to capitalize on that moment against Indiana, and, just going forward, looking forward to the rest of his season? What is it you hope to see from him that can make you feel really confident about, like, just making sure that, that's quarterback number 2 in your eyes?
Yeah. So again, the bounce back after the loss to Indiana was huge. Talking to scouts, one scout told me, he's like, listen, man, the thing that I look for most in quarterbacks is like when they're backed up in their own end, with like the noise is to their back, can they pull the offense at least into a position where if they do have to punt, they're not surrendering a ton of field position, because that's a huge win. Because the defense is hyped, the fans are hyped to have the ball like the 1-2 yard line. If you can push it out even to the 20, like that silences a lot. How they bounce back after losses, and then those obvious passing situations and like game-winning drive situations, like pressure situations. I thought Dante did a good job to bounce back. And again, talking about those pressure cooker situations, again, Penn State hasn't been the team that we thought they would be, but he put the team on his back in that second half of that Penn State game and willed them to victory. The ball placement is beautiful. The pocket movement and structure, the feet, the mechanics are beautiful for Dante Moore. I have the confidence feels a little bit shaken since the Indiana game though, and that felt true last week as well against Wisconsin. And then obviously he got smacked in the head and got taken out of that game against Wisconsin last week. But the game plan against Wisconsin just felt like very RPO. He's screen heavy. I don't know if they felt like we need to get this guy in a rhythm early, but then it never really got going. He had a really nice throw on 3rd and long. He found a backside sit and delivered a strike on 3rd and long to convert that. But I'm starting to feel less confident that he's going to declare just because he is just a redshirt sophomore, right? But like what he's doing is like the high level stuff is like this is a very like highly intelligent quarterback.
Do you think Oregon's offense is like a tough evaluation, or like it creates some things that make it a tough evaluation?
It looks a lot different than it did for Nix and for Gabriel, to be honest to me. Like they're running a lot less RPOs than they were running with those guys. Again, Gabriel had the lowest average depth of target, and Nix, they both had really low ADOTs. Moore's ADOT is like nearly 2 yards higher than Gabriel's last year. So I think there's a lot more down the field action, a lot more trust in Moore to push the football down the field than we're seeing out of maybe the past 2 quarterbacks that have played at Oregon. And again, I don't know if that's a trust in the quarterback thing or if Moore's just seeing things that Nix and Gabriel didn't throw. But he's had some really beautiful like seam shots, deep posts that down the hashes, some stuff like that really draws you in as well. So everything is really clean. The timing stuff has gotten a little lagged, like a little late. This past week, yes, Wisconsin it was. Again, Rutgers, it was pretty perfect, but Rutgers, right? In Wisconsin, you could say the same thing. Like, he probably should have played cleaner against Wisconsin. So I'm watching him a little bit more closely. But again, when the highs are so high, when it's so clean, like this is from a cognitive and like daring to throw level aspect, it's like a CJ Stroud. Like, think about like when CJ Stroud is on and when Dak Prescott are on. Like, he's in that tier of quarterback.
Okay. With Dante, I think the big, like, do you think you need to see him in another big game before you really know if he should declare or not? I know the rest of his schedule is pretty light, right? And they're not going to be in the Big Ten championship unless somebody loses. So, like, do you need like a solid playoff performance from him? Given that like we just don't have that much information about him before this season.
Yeah, I need to see it. Again, he's got Iowa. They're on a bye this week. They've got Iowa next weekend. It gives him time to recover if he's dealing with a concussion as well. But Iowa's got one of the top defenses in college football as well. So like, and they gave Mendoza a few fits as well. But Mendoza again bounced back in that game and threw a seam shot with getting whacked on the chin and again, let a game-winning, like a game-sealing drive in that one too. But Iowa's got a really strong defense, so I think that'll be a good one. And then they do have USC still on the 22nd as well. And USC's defense, post Chris Ash has actually turned around and turned into a pretty solid unit as well. So, and then even Washington's defense gave Ohio State a few fits in that game too. So there are some defenses here that Moore needs to have strong performances against.
All right, LaNorris Sellers I think he is a, how do I put this? LaNorris Sellers to me feels like the kind of car you can only buy if you rich. Like, like it's a nice car if you got the money to fix it. But if you broke, you can't buy a Cadillac, right? Like, it's one of those things where I look at him and I'm worried that like, oh yeah, Philadelphia is going to find a way to hit the nastiest lick on us or something. Like a team like that could make a move on him. I do worry about him going to a team like Cleveland where it's like you're probably going to play sooner than later. Your offensive line issues are going to be about the same thing you're dealing with in South Carolina. And like, when you have a bad offensive line, you're going to develop some bad habits. And it's important to watch those habits when you get to the league. But if you're still having to deal with that in the league, they're going to probably carry over. What do you do with the kind of season he's had? And like, what do you think he does with the kind of season he's had? Because he is so talented and it's not going to take much for him to get a first round grade.
No. I really struggle with Sellers, man. Like, I feel better about Sellers than I do about Richardson coming out of Florida. He's got more starting experience. The body is very dense and built, so I don't think it's going to break down as. I mean, I guess Cam Newton had a really nice body, like had a really thick body too, and he broke down from taking all those hits pretty quickly at the NFL level too. So you got to worry about that, I guess, how much he runs and how many hits he's going to take and things like that. Because we're seeing those kind of quarterbacks break down. Lamar and Josh Allen have been super. I mean, okay, Josh Allen, it took some time for Josh Allen to become pretty safe with his body, but Lamar's unbelievably safe with his body.
No, Lamar's the best we've ever seen at not taking, like him and Russ in his prime. Russ used to be the same way where he never took a big hit.
And so like he's got to learn to do that because, but what I struggle with, like again, those things that I talked about, what that scout had told me, like these are the things that I'm looking at, like. There's red X's next to all those situations for Sellers. Those third and longs, those game-winning situations, those backed up in your own territory situations. And again, I can acknowledge that the offensive line play is awful. His offensive coordinator, not the greatest situation. It's all around not a well-coached football team. Like Shane Beaver's probably going to get fired. He's going to get fired after the season, right? But at some point, we're talking about a potential top pick in the draft with alien-like traits. This is the kind of the Brady thing. Like Brady elevated, and that's not fair. Like I can't. Okay, that's not a fair comparison. I can't compare somebody to Tom Brady. But like Tom Brady's best receivers were like Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Brandon Tate, Chris Hogan. Like
you expect somebody who's going to be a top tier quarterback in the draft
elevate
to be able to win
the
like
guys
8
around
games, right? Like 8, 9, be a solid bowl eligible team that maybe gets like a big win during the course of the year, right? Like you expect at least that.
At some point, you have to be the alpha. And I don't think that Sellers has proven that he's the alpha of that team. And he certainly hasn't gotten to the point where he's elevating those guys around him. And again, I came into this 5-game stretch saying, like, well, this eval is going to write itself. Well, he's over 3 in this 5-game stretch here. And that's not from a QB wins perspective, but from every game has been relatively winnable, like into the second half of those games. And there's been nothing that's really pulled South Carolina to victory from him. And this past week at Alabama, like a crucial fumble that just cannot happen. But I think what's most concerning about Sellers, and again, I appreciate the traits and I see it, and I'd still be really tempted by them if he declares, like don't get me wrong, I would still be very tempted by them if he declares and say like, oh, some coach could get the most out of him. We're cooking with gas, right? But like, we're hitching a ton. I don't know what, like, I just did a film room for my paid subscribers on my Substack on LaNorris Sellers game against Alabama, and there's chunks just that he's not seeing, or that he's seeing and hitching, and then by the time he's ready to throw, the safety that rotated down into a robber look is already rotating back out, roboting back out, and in the hole that was there that he could have ripped, or flood concept where the corner's there, like the corner's wide open and he's not throwing it, like. So there's a lot that concerns me from a process standpoint, where I came into before this like last 3-game stretch here, like saying, man, Sellers is getting better every week. Sellers is getting better every week. I don't know if it's a confidence thing with all this losing that's going on, where it's like he's struggling to pick the pieces back up or what, but like these last 3 games have been a pretty harsh regression, kind of back to what was on his 2024 tape for Sellers there. So what do I think he does? James and I had the conversation on our podcast last night about this, and I think I put it at like 10% chance he goes back to South Carolina. I might even say like 5% chance he goes back to South Carolina, 30% chance he declares, and 65% chance that he transfers.
You think he's going to take that Miami scholarship, the NIL sweepstakes?
He's 20 years old.
Yeah.
And Carson Beck is making Carson Beck is the highest paid college athlete this year, making $6 million a year from Miami. Like somebody, either Phil Knight, those private school Miami boosters, somebody is going to throw Texas A&M. I mean, Marcel Reed's a fun college quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback, but he's a fun college quarterback. So I don't know if they'd do it, but like maybe Texas Tech. Those Texas schools have a ton of like oil and engineering money. Like there are schools that will throw in an ungodly amount of money at this kid.
Do you think it's better for him to play another? Like, I do wonder. I'm looking at some of the issues he has, and I'm like, man, I think he just needs to not play for a little bit. Like,
so that's the conversation that I kind of wonder too. Like, is it better for him to go out and get live reps, or is it better for him to go to the NFL, get drafted, sit and learn, and then go? Like, what's more important for him? Is it the live reps, or is it like, let's take a beat here? Let's get in an incubator, right? Like, let's sit in an incubator for a year, kind of like the Goku thing, the Dragon Ball Z meme with Goku with where he's floating And just like let him incubate for a year and then see what you got. I don't know the answer, man. Like I would even say he's farther along than like JJ McCarthy was at Michigan, and JJ McCarthy went 10th overall with worse tools, and like that team was afraid to let McCarthy throw the football. That national championship winning team was afraid to let McCarthy throw the football that year. So like I even think he's farther along than like JJ McCarthy, but like I don't know, man. There's just so much NIL money being thrown around. It's hard to tell what's going to happen here.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like there's going to be a lot of NIL money thrown around, but like you can see like there's been worse prospects than LaNorris Sellers to go really high in the draft, right? So he is the mystery box. He is also the most likely prospect to get somebody fired in this draft class. Like he will either make you a legend or get you fired. They don't feel like it's going to be a lot of in between there with LaNorris, which is going to be interesting. But you have been talking about somebody I have not been super familiar with, right? Brendan Sorsby, quarterback out of Cincinnati. He was somewhere else before, or was he at Cincinnati
Indiana
this whole time? Indiana.
He's in Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana before Cignetti got there, right?
Yep, sure was.
What has stood out to you about his game?
So the Nebraska game to start the season, again, Trent, like terrible weather, football weather to play in, but like was bad. And I get it. You take that game out, and again, you can't take out a Power 4 performance. So like I'm not throwing that game out from his charting perspective or anything like that. But like you take that game out, and you're looking at a really strong quarterback, man. James, again, and I on our podcast, on the Daft on Draft podcast yesterday, had the conversation of LaNorris Sellers goes back to school. Let's have that conversation. Say LaNorris Sellers goes back to school. Brandon Sorsby probably has the best tools of any quarterback in this draft class. Like that, he's got that kind of arm elasticity to drop his arm angles, throw off platform, manipulate throwing windows with the different angles he can throw from. He's a really mobile quarterback. Again, the game sealing touchdown this past week against Baylor was a read option where he juked a safety out of his shoes, and took off for the end zone. So really good athlete. He's listed at 6'3", 230, so I'd probably put him at 6'2", 220, 225, somewhere around there. Those schools tend to exaggerate guys on their listing stuff. So he's got a prototypical NFL body type. Again, the arm is live, man, and he throws with nice touch. And if you go back and just watch him in the pocket and watch how he's sliding through traffic, sliding up, stepping up, how he's working in structure, it's a thing of beauty. And again, like I think the feet can be worked on, because I do think that's probably a little bit of a rough spot, but the arm is whip-like. The arm is flexible. The arm is like generates a lot of RPMs on the football. So Sorsby's got a lot of tools, and again, Cincinnati's undefeated since that week 1 loss, and Sorsby's a big reason why. I think he's got like I want to say like a 21-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio this year at this point as well. So he's being really careful with the football. The turnover play, the worthy play rate has dropped substantially from last year to this year. He's taken a lot more shots down the field, which he didn't do last year. Yeah, he sits with 20 touchdowns, 1 interception this season. So from a tools perspective, it's there. From like a taking care of the football perspective, it's there. From a pocket fluidity perspective, it's there. Not a lot of middle of the field throws, and kind of like a little RPO gimmicky, like read option RPO gimmicky. But I've gotten to the point where like I've started to just like not care about what college offense these guys are coming from, because like if you do that, you're gonna have like one quarterback every 2 years that's not coming from a college gimmicky offense. So like you just have to kind of evaluate like, well, is he at least passing the tests of what he's being given in front of him? And the answer to that, like, this is the Drake May thing. People hated, like, one of the knocks on Drake May is that he played for Phil Longo, who has like notoriously like 30 plays in his playbook, and it's all air raid crap. But Drake May consistently passed the test in front of him, and now he's playing like an MVP candidate this year for the Patriots. So that's more what I'm concerned about. And again, sitting with 20 touchdowns, 1 interception, already more touchdowns, significantly less interceptions than he had a year ago. So we'll see. They've got kind of a gauntlet of as much of a gauntlet of Big 12 plays you can have, right? They've got Utah this week. They still have TCU, and they still have BYU down the stretch here, with Arizona mixed in the middle there as well. So he's still got 4 quality games here against teams that with quality defenses to kind of see what he's got. But I like right now as I sit, like let me talk again next week after the Utah game. But like after the Utah game, if he plays this kind of similar style of football, I'm ready to start probably talking about him going top 32.
Yeah, it's all the guys we talked about except for LaNorris has like ridiculous touchdown interception ratios right now.
Yeah.
Like it's like what Mendoza has like 2 interceptions on the year or 3 or something like that. Like
I think it's 3, but again, the one last week was a ball batted down at the line of scrimmage.
yeah, he's like at a career high in touchdowns already, and he has like 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns to add on top of it. Like the there is you can see just by like even if you're not paying attention to the games itself, if you're looking at the stat line of these 3 guys that were 4 to 5 guys we're talking 3 of the 4 guys we're talking about, you're like, okay, yeah, that looks a lot different than last year, right? Where we're talking about more messy stat lines than that. But also, I want to ask you this question, like. I know that age is a real big factor when it comes to just prospects in general, right? How does age factor into the quarterback position? Because sometimes, like with the tight end, you're saying somebody's at 20, they're more productive than somebody at 23. It's reasonable to assume that like somebody can get to that level of production, but with quarterback, that progression is not really like promised. So, like, does it matter with the age? Unless like it's like somebody's like 30 coming out of college, or like how do you factor that in? Because like Mendoza, Simpson, they're going to be about 23 by the time they come out, 22, 23, and then more, and it's Sorsby's pretty young too, right?
Sorsby's only 21, yeah.
Yeah, and then LaNorris, I mean, Moore and LaNorris won't be 21 until they hit rookie camp.
Yeah. So I don't think it matters for the quarterback position as at all. Mendoza will be 23 in October of his rookie season if he declares this year. Because again, what we're seeing as well, like looking at the NFL level, like these quarterbacks that are declaring too early are flaming out too early. And the quarterbacks that tend to stay in college and play college ball for a little while are the ones hanging around and kind of producing almost immediately. Like, again, the 2025 class or 2024 class is an anomaly. Because even though May and Williams were both really young, they were both 2-year starters, right? So like in Williams' case, he was a 2.5-year starter.
Yeah,
so
really.
They played a lot of football, yeah, because he played as a true freshman after they benched Rattler. And I think that even talking about guys like Dante Moore and Ty Simpson who don't have a lot of starting experience, I think you can like there's more gray area. Like again. Ty Simpson is a 4th-year player at Alabama. He's probably played against more NFL players than Fernando Mendoza has as a 3rd-year starter. Like he's seen it. He's been under Saban and DeBoer. So like I think that is some gray area. Dante Moore started as a true freshman at UCLA, took the mature step to say like I need to go sit for a year behind the most experienced college quarterback of all time and Browns legend Dylan Gabriel. Took a year to really sit and incubate and say like I got to take a beat, and then came back. So I think that leaves room for gray area. Like it shows like intelligence, maturity, and like that year off, that kind of necessary time to learn before coming back out, and he's playing good football. So I think that leaves room for gray area too, in terms of like that. Oh no, don't draft 1-year starter kind of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been a fun conversation. Anybody else that you want to kind of like get a word in on positive or negative about this? Well, actually, let's get to the negativity real quick. Who are we know who your favorite guys are. Who are the guys that you feel like the internet might be a little higher on than you are? Who's on your I don't see it list?
Yeah, I mean that would start with Nuss and Aller, and I mentioned that earlier. Like Drew Aller, I don't want to talk shit about a guy who like suffered a broken ankle and he's out for the season, right? But like that's another dude who has never elevated his team in a big moment in his entire career, and he started for 2.5 seasons. So like, I see the big arm. He's a goofy athlete, wildly inaccurate, and a bad decision maker. Like why were we talking about the guys the first round pick in the first place? John Mateer's another one, dude. That's another guy. I was like, I don't have a single clue what that dude's looking at on the football field. Not a single clue. And it has nothing to do with his thumb. Like this, like even the Michigan game wasn't great from a processing standpoint. The Washington State tape, same issues. It's bad. And then these past 2 weeks, it's kind of come spearheaded full circle for Mateer in Oklahoma. And it's like, but this has kind of been all over his tape to begin with. It's just the turnover variance has been accelerated a little bit the last 2 weeks. So I think he needs to go back as well. He's a redshirt junior. So, but what I will say about Mateer is he kind of reminds me about Cam Ward's last year at Washington State before transferring to Miami, where you see like, oh, this guy has has a wildly fun arm, but like is just spray throwing everything. Like he'll throw whatever, and he'll run around back there, and he'll make it look cool. But he's making some really weird decisions. So, there's potential for a leap there. I think that maybe he does need to.
He throws a lot of balls that make DBs look like wide receivers when you're watching it, like on the broadcast, where you're like, oh, why is that DB trying to get both his feet in bounds right now?
And why is he tracking that football? Yeah.
Why is he completely turned around here?
Yeah. And then this isn't like, I don't hate the player, but like Jaden Maiava is a really fun college quarterback. He's a very efficient college quarterback. I don't see NFL tools in the arm or the athleticism. Like I think he's got kind of a squatty lower half, and it kind of shows up when he tries to run a little bit. Like there's a little bit of wiggle there, but it looks a little laborious for him trying to pick up some yards with his legs. And then the arm, man, just like I said it to you off air, but it almost looks like he's throwing a beach ball. Like that ball does not have a lot of velocity on it at all to drive into windows, and he's throwing with anticipation and accuracy, so he's overcompensating like up the seam when he's dropping those footballs into like McKylum and up the seam into those tight windows and stuff like that. But I think it's more from an anticipation perspective than it is from a drive perspective. But I don't. The arm looks pretty rough to me.
Is he Will Howard peeled? Is that like a Will Howard peeled conversation?
Howard had a better arm.
You think Will Howard had a better arm?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But hey, again, this is the conversation though. You can make life-changing money being a good college quarterback. So he's got one more year of eligibility. He's got no reason to get out of here. So go make your money, man. That's kind of the conversation with Maiava, I think.
He needs to get his agent on the phone with Miami just to drive up that price for USC to retain him. Because I think who's it? Lincoln Riley, if he stays there, he loves him. So it's like, okay, he'll probably be willing to pony up the money there. He's interesting. I made the mistake about tweeting about him early in the season when he was having a good game, and I was like just enjoying him, watching him, and then then people started talking about him as a top 5 pick, and I'm like, hey, I wasn't there. I wasn't there with him. Like I was just having fun watching him.
Well, he was up until the Notre Dame game. An efficient, smart quarterback. The Notre Dame game, he started running around back there, throwing off his back foot and rolling out, and I threw 2 picks in that game. And but you can make a lot of money at the college level, man. That's all I'm saying. Just soak it in. So,
if you were a GM, do you think this is the year? If you're the GM of the Browns, that you feel good about taking that quarterback wherever it is? Like, let's say you land 1-7, and maybe you have an opportunity to move up within the top 7, right? So, is this a year where you're confident in making that move? Or do you think you have enough confidence in what's coming down the line in college football to where you think you might be able to get away with punting on it and solving the quarterback problem later? Because my whole thing was like, hey, you think there's a quarterback there? I don't think you can pass
next
that
year's
up,
always
right?
better, right? Yeah. That's the thing. Well, next year's class is better. And then, inevitably everybody goes back to school, or it turns out not the
or like Raiola has a terrible last season or something. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, we were talking about DJ Lagway, who can't stay healthy, and then had a really rough stretch. It looks like he's bounced back a little bit, but like had a real rough stretch. That like, and then Arch is like the Arch
going to figure it out next year.
Yeah. So like, I feel infinitely better about this class than I did last year's class. Infinitely. Like I did like there wasn't a quarterback last year. I'm like, I would take that guy as a franchise changer. Do I see like a Josh Allen like elite tools level quarterback in this class? No. I mean, Sellers would be the one, but that's the risk, right? The risk reward there. But I feel infinitely better about that. There are 3 quarterbacks who can come in and within the first 2 years of their NFL careers come in and start for a team and play really good football. In Mendoza, Moore, and Simpson.
With Mendoza, Moore, and Simpson, are they on like the same tier of prospect for you, or is like one a little higher than the other? For one, I don't.
I'd probably put them all lumped into one tier together. They're all like, I'd put them in that like high IQ, but like plus, but not elite tools tier, right?
So
like there's no quarterback in this tool outside of Sellers, no quarterback in this class outside of Sellers that has those rare elite tools. But these guys are genius. They're brilliant football players. They're accurate and they're really good decision makers.
So you'll put them like somewhere below where you would have a Drake May, but maybe above.
So to me, it's like the CJ Stroud thing, right? CJ Stroud went second overall. I think they have similar tools to CJ Stroud, who doesn't have a transcendent arm and who isn't a transcendent athlete, but a really smart football player, really good decision maker. So I think they're probably in a similar tier where I would have put Stroud.
Yeah, it's good enough for me. Yeah, it's good enough for me. I think this is the year they got to pull the trigger, or at least figure out a way to pull the trigger. Because,
nobody's treading water for 3 years. You can't tread water for 3 years. Nobody's surviving that.
You can't. So. And then you possibly are in a situation where if you don't, you got to play that guy at quarterback some games, and I ain't trying to do that. So thank you, Corey, for being on. If they can find a way to make a year more miserable than the last two, oh boy, don't take a quarterback and let's see if we can roll this thing out in the last year of Deshaun's contract. Yeah, that'd be fun. But appreciate you being on here, man. Where can people find more of your work? I know you're doing your charting project again. Just all kind of great stuff, a great resource to have if you're a fan interested in the 2026 draft in general, but also had some great resources on the quarterbacks of this class too.
Yeah, so I launched my Substack full-time last year. I went to a paid model in April, $8 a month, $80 for the year, where I'm dropping 4 premium content things a week. So I'm usually doing 2 video contents of film room on a quarterback and then a film room on a position player per week. All of my charting data is housed on my Substack as well, where I literally chart every single passing attempt of every quarterback, and I chart it for ball placement and accuracy, not for completed versus incomplete, but for ball placement and accuracy. And I have a weighted formula that I have been fine tuning and refining every year since 2020. And I've yielded some pretty good results in terms of what it means for NFL quarterback projection to the NFL. Out of that as well. So that's all housed on my Substack as well. Written content there as well, positional rankings, things like that too. Is on that Substack. Again, $8 a month, $80 for the year. And then there's the Daft on Draft podcast as well, wherever you get podcasts, and on YouTube. So those are the main places you can find me.
All right, you'll be able to find him. Make sure you hit the little @ thing is up there now. I'm trying to do the @ thing there. But make sure you guys check it out. Check out Corey's work. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.